Workout Wednesdays. I like that.
Gym content going along. We'll start off with some questions. So question number 1 is, what's one mistake you see?
Want to put the mic on?
Speaking to yours?
Check.
Okay. Yeah, we're good. Okay. So gym content with Brian, it is May 14th, Wednesday. We got 10 warm-up questions for Brian. So question number 1 is, what's one mistake you see most women making on leg day that no one talks about?
Ooh, that's a good one. Damn, just starting off like that. Damn, Willie the videographer. So one mistake women do on leg day that nobody talks about is definitely glute activation. What is glute activation? Is when man or woman, in this case women, need to activate their glutes so that the neural pathways in their body tells the booty muscles, all 3 glutes muscles, that is going to be targeting that area. And what happens is, if you've ever done any leg exercises or booty exercises, and you're doing exercise specifically made for booty targeting, however you do them and you don't feel them, is because you're lacking on glute activation. You're lacking those firing of the neural pathways for those glutes, those nervous systems activating those glutes. So what you end up doing is glute activation workouts. Just to name a few, it could be a little bit of crab walk, some monster walk, some clams, some fire hydrants. The list goes on, because I'm the booty doctor, I know everything. So you need to do that as a warm-up to activate your glutes so that you can be prepared to go for your squats, your deadlifts, your lunges, your Bulgarian split squats, your hip thrusts, and all that booty stuff, so that it can solely be targeting those glute muscles. And that's my answer.
Got it, thank you. Now for question number 2. If your mom came to you asking to tone up her glutes and midsection, what would you make her do first?
If my mother came up to me and told me she wanted to tone her midsection and grow her glutes, what would be the first thing I tell her to do?
Yes.
I would tell her to get a personal trainer. And I say this, I'm not even trying to be funny. I say this because she's never had a personal trainer in her life. Me as her son, I can never train my mom. Why? Because she's always going to look at me as her son, and she's not going to look at me as a professional. There's not going to be that type of respect there. I'm sure there's doctors out there who have parents, and those doctors end up telling their parents they should do X, Y, Z. They don't listen to that doctor until they're in their life or death scenario on top of the deathbed. Okay, so, and that's what happens where you have like a distorted image with this individual or this partner. Like, this is why this is why you can't really train with your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your wife or your husband, because they're going to be your husband or your wife or your boyfriend or your girlfriend first, rather than your workout partner or rather than your personal trainer. Me and my girl, we don't work out at all. Why? Because I get in personal training mode, and she looks at me as her man, not her personal trainer. Yes, she'll like listen to everything I say, but then it all comes down to like, oh, be my man instead of, be my man instead of my trainer. My mom's gonna be like, be my son instead of my trainer. It's not gonna work out. So my first advice to this person, my mom, would be to invest in a personal trainer who's professional, who has a resume of transformations, a resume of experience, so that she can be safe, she can be efficient, and she won't be wasting time or money. That's the advice I would give her.
Now for Question number 3.
You be loud, I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. What was your own biggest gym fail when you first started lifting?
Wow.
And what did it teach you about training women currently?
My biggest gym fail when I first started lifting, and what did it teach me with women?
Yes.
I would say my biggest gym fail would be early in my career. I've been doing this for 13 years. Maybe by my second year, I blew out my back. And I kid you not, I blew out my back. I got a herniation, I got sciatica, my right leg was completely numb, all to the point where my toes, couldn't even feel my toes when I would be walking. So I blew out my back stretching, if you don't believe it or not. So there's this machine at some commercial gyms where you actually sit and the chair actually moves around and you can stretch your lower back. I guess I went a little too deep, no homo, and I just heard a pop. And I kid you not, I could not move my legs. I literally fell to the ground and I lay there for like an hour. I believe I called my girlfriend at the time and I was like, girl, you need to come at the gym, pick me up, because I can't move. So I was like literally limping. She like held me from her shoulders and we walked to the car. I had to go to the ER, everything. I couldn't feel my right leg. Fast forward 3 years, I did physical therapy, I did injections, I did the chiropractor, I did everything. Nothing worked except stretching and yoga. I hired a yoga instructor to teach me yoga poses and yoga stretches and mobility for a solid week. I implemented that for 3 months and I started feeling sensation on my toes again. And then little by little, my legs started gaining sensation. So that being said, how I implemented that into my clients, my girls, going forward in my career is always making sure we are warming up in the beginning, we are cooling down or stretching at the end of the workout, and making sure I'm always communicating with my girls, hey, does this hurt? Does this not hurt? Do you feel anything in your lower back? Communication is key. Because this might be unpopular opinion, but back pain is the worst pain in the world. If you rest, it hurts. If you're active, it hurts. It hurts constantly 24/7. So me being there, it sucks.
Well, thank you for sharing your personal experience along with that question. On to question number 4. Why do so many women still believe lifting heavy makes them bulky?
Why do so many women still think lifting heavy makes them bulky? I think they still believe that because there's this stigma where there's content out there and there's influencers out there where they're genetically enhanced. It's a great word to say. And they just don't look feminine anymore. And now in the age of social media, they've been becoming so mainstream nowadays with powerlifting getting mainstream. You know, major companies like Gymshark and things like that are becoming a lot more popular, and like the strong woman era is increasing. Now, there's strong women, and then there's like big strong women. Now, the big strong women, they're getting all the popularity and the virality. Why? Because they just don't look natural, right? And the common woman and the common man will look at that and they're like, oh man, women should not be lifting heavy. And that is not the case. They are genetically enhanced. They're purposely increasing their testosterone, which is why they're building that much muscle. Most women do not produce that much testosterone. Hence, even if they lift heavy, they will just become strong. They will not become big strong, if that makes sense. That's my answer.
All right, nice, thanks. Question number 5. If a busy mom only has 30 minutes to train, what's the most efficient glute toning workout she can do?
Ooh, I like that question. Repeat it again.
If a busy mom only has 30 minutes to train, what's the most efficient glute toning workout that she can do?
If a busy mom only had 30 minutes to train, what is the most efficient
Glute toning workout
she can do? I have a lot of moms in my community that are busy and they have jobs. So what I usually tell them is within that time frame of a half hour, breaks are like only 30 seconds. They are essential, but you don't need to be going through a half hour of movement. 30-second breaks max, and a lot of bands workouts. And I say bands because you need some sort of resistance to go against those glutes in your hips. You know, squats will help, lunges will help, Bulgarian split squats would help, drum squats will help, but they don't necessarily really target the glutes unless you have a source of resistance there and you want more bang for your buck within a short period of time. So you need the resistance. So bands especially, so banded squats, banded abduction, clams, fire hydrants, even banded jump squats, bands. And if you're interested in that, I could absolutely send you a booty program solely on busy moms for a half hour that you can implement at home or anywhere, matter of fact. That's my answer.
Got it. Thank you. Question number 6. What does toning really mean in your words?
Ooh.
And how do you explain it to the woman that you coach?
Oh, that's a good one. What does toning mean in my words? And how do I explain it to a woman I coach?
Yes.
All right, so let's debunk this. Toning literally just means fat loss. However, the common woman will consider toning in a wide spectrum. For them, toning could be building muscle. For them, toning could be losing fat. For them, toning could be maintaining. There's a lot of synonyms for them with the word toning. So my first question to my moms and my women that I train is specifically, what do you mean by toning, so that I can properly unlock the meaning or accomplish the goal that you're trying to accomplish, so that I can properly give you the results that you want. Because toning for most women is just a wide spectrum. In my sense, like I said, toning is simply just fat loss, period. That's it, end of story. That's my answer.
Got it. Thank you. Question number 7. How did watching the woman in your life growing up influence the way you coach moms today?
Ooh, god damn. Can you repeat that?
How did watching the woman in your life growing up influence the way you coach moms today?
This is deep. So how did I see women in my life growing up influence the women that I coach today? So the women in my life, I was raised by all women. The women in my life were all single and or divorced and or overweight and or lonely and or depressed and or,
not motivated.
cat owners, dog owners, just that stigma of the cat lady that are 60, that's my family members. Is it unfortunate? That's a different topic. Now, watching them as I grew into my 30s for more than 30 years, I I noticed that they were unmotivated, they were just talkers. And by unmotivated, I mean they knew what they needed to do, they just didn't do it. So they needed accountability. That's what I mean by motivation. Number two, they were just talkers. What I mean by that is they would say they will start, but they wouldn't act upon it. And number three, because they were single, most of them were single moms, they would keep in their minds that they did not have time to implement and better themselves because they needed to prioritize their children. Now, that may be true, however, you need to pour into your own cup first before you end up pouring into your children's cups. So, that was their fault. That was where they lacked. And I utilized that so that I can come up with the best possible support system for women just like that, or women that are in similar shoes, to be supported so that they can continuously work on themselves so they could be the best version of themselves, the best mom they can be, and the best wife or single mom that they could be. You know? So that's how it was influenced. That's it.
Got it. Thank you for sharing that personal story with us. On to question number 8. What's one exercise you used to love but had to stop programming for women because it didn't deliver results?
Ooh, that's some sauce. Willie, you're really killing it with the questions, man. So what is one exercise that I stopped giving to my female clients because they were not getting the results? Ooh, that's tough. I would say you know what I would say? I would say kickbacks, cable kickbacks. And I would specifically say that because it's one of those exercises where there's a lot of variations, there's a lot of modifications, and there's a lot of variance that will determine whether you're going to feel it in your glutes, in your upper, your lower, your medial, or your lower back. And depending on what they want will determine where and how you would want to raise that leg, twist that foot, and how high you would raise that leg. And because there's so many variants, and most of my moms are very time efficient, I just stopped giving it out. And the moms that I have and the women I have in my community, they see results being time efficient, not because they're following the most popular Instagram trendy workout that will get some clickbaits. Now it's good, but there's obviously better exercises that will tone and build booty at the same time. And that's my answer.
Wonderful, thank you. Question number 9. Do you remember the first mom you ever helped transform her body? And what made her success stick out for you?
Do I remember the first mom whom I changed her life, and what about her stuck out in my career? That's a phenomenal question. And I remember her name. Her name was Prem. She was actually a client who was given to me from another trainer because that other trainer left. It was at my first ever personal training job. I still talk about her to this day with one of my clients. And her goal was to be strong so that she can lift her son, who is disabled, from his bed into the couch, into the living room, into the kitchen, etc. And I thought that was the most touching thing I've ever heard. So after implementing multiple functional exercises and really focusing on deadlifts, because that's the type of movement she would actually have to do to pick up her disabled son. She was deadlifting 225 at the age of, she was in her 60s. 225 at the age of 60 is fucking wild. And she was able to do that. And her main driver was her son, and it was a beautiful thing. She even asked me if I could train her son, and unfortunately, I couldn't, because I just couldn't even support the type of disability that he had. And not to put his information out there, but he needed special equipment. And it was a miracle that she even had that type of equipment and was able to pick up her son so he can navigate throughout the house. So that was my biggest mom success story.
Nice, wonderful. That's really encouraging and inspiring.
Yeah.
Like she was in her 60s, that's really
dude.
good.
That was a decade ago. I wonder if she's still deadlifting.
And final question. If a client told you, I don't feel anything in my glutes when I train, what's the first thing you would check or change?
So the question is, if a client told me she does not feel anything in her glutes, what would be the first thing I would check or change? The first thing I would check is her feet placement and her weight distribution, whether her body weight is in the middle of her feet, her toes, or her heels. That's number one. And feet placement, rather, if it's narrow, if it's wider than shoulder width, or if it's shoulder width. Number two, one thing that I would implement is adding some resistance bands around her legs or his legs above the knee. I do above rather than below, just because 9 times out of 10, most people have knee issues, and having the band above the knee will just skip over any type of knee discomfort with a band, and it will put less stress on the knees. So I would implement that. 9 times out of 10, that will activate their glutes. They will start feeling in their glutes, and then we could go happy with our leg day or booty day. That's my answer.
All right, wonderful. That was 10 personal questions, and that was 10 wonderful answers and insight that you have given us for today. So thank you.
Sauce. What about your questions? Do you have any questions or no?
No, because they kind of align with the questions.
Oh yeah? Okay, perfect.
So,
cool.
That's fine. That was
sauce. That was really good.
Yeah, that was 25 minutes. 20.